over the last many months that we've been running them is we do record this call so that if timing isn't perfect for everybody, which it never is, we always have this available so that your peers and colleagues, and in the future, they want to reflect back on this conversation and things that came from this call, then they have the opportunity to go ahead and do so. So I am really excited about the opportunity to have a conversation with Kate, Vasey, and all of you that get a chance to listen today to this convo. Kate is currently, for those of you that don't know, she is the division manager for the DC Metro area, which is headquartered in Rockville. I think now probably 18 years, if I'm correct, probably this will be the 18th, but around 18-year veteran with the company. Kate got started immediately upon high school graduation, and she got the opportunity to work closely with Jeff Gamboa throughout her college years for 4 years. Once graduating, was promoted into the district manager position and rapidly advanced into the DVM role. She is responsible for creating over $34 million worth of Cutco sales. She's in our company's Hall of Fame. She was married in 2016 to her husband, Patrick, and they had the opportunity to welcome their first daughter into the world in vector fashion at the beginning of a vector summer, May 8th, 2018. And Kate loved that timing so much that she chose, like we all choose, to decide, you know what, we're going to welcome our second daughter even better, a little earlier, like a couple weeks, you know, coming up April 23rd. And we'll just time this one right before a pandemic, right when the pandemic's hitting, and the whole business is just changing. So that's exciting timing. And that's, you know, to give you an idea of not only where Kate is professionally, but personally as well in her life. She is, as many people, everyone that describes Kate, describes her as somebody that has not just, I'd say, high standards, but she leads, as you guys have heard, with love. She is a fantastic example in our company, how you really can have it all. And when you really care about the people that you work with, anything is really possible. From my experience, getting an opportunity to know Kate through the years at various events, throughout what the company offers throughout the year, most of the time I've had a chance to get to know Kate a bit better through these Eastern region DVM meetings that I get the opportunity to partake in. And I get a chance to see and hear her speak and share her wisdom and chat with her outside of those messages. And she is exactly what you see is what you get. And that's what I love about Kate, is that she is extremely personable. She's sincere. She's real, you know, and she values this opportunity in such a way. And every time we get an opportunity to talk, I feel like we have very similar feelings about our opportunity as we've come up. And we know why we're here and what Vector offers. And we want to be able to provide that for as many people as possible. And so it is, as a DVM heading into the summer, you know, it's a really busy time. So I just want to say from the outset of this is we really appreciate Kate finding a way to squeeze this into her schedule, because there's a lot of moving parts right now. And for her to give us this time is awesome. And I also know one of the common questions that comes up a lot of times at a variety of places and stages in our business is, can I really do this and have everything else I want in my life? And so the conversation we're about to have is going to start with a lot of the professional aspects that Kate has developed through her career in Vector. And we're going to ask some history questions and lessons she's learned and things she's developed professionally. And then we're going to move in the second half of the conversation to really how she's been able to build her business and build her family and have this family life that is growing alongside with her business parallel. And so we're going to get to both those. But what I would love to see is that as we go through this conversation, is that if everybody could pop into the chat, whether they're takeaways that you're hearing and you're like, oh, I want to make sure that I pop that in there people so that not only, you know, Kate can see but everybody else can see, you know, what's standing out to you in this conversation. So you can pop that into the chat. The other thing is you can keep track of questions in the chat. So if you've got a question, you're like, oh, I'd love to know a bit more about that, then just put it into the chat, because Shelby and I watch through the chat. And then if we don't get to it in the conversation, then we'll make sure to leave some time at the end so that you can ask that Q&A at the end to Kate. So, all right, so let's get started. So I'm not going to go into the rep side, because you guys can get that from the Changing Lives Selling Knives podcast that Kate was featured in. She's got some background there. That's where Dan got started with Kate. But I think what I'd like to do when I think about decisions we make as we pursue this opportunity is, the first question would be, Kate, so what made you decide to pursue Vector post-college as a DM and say, you know what, this is where I want to start my career? You know, a lot of options available to you. So, you know, what made you decide to do that?
Yeah, thanks, Angie. First, I want to say thanks to Angie and Shelby for reaching out. And as I'm just like looking through all the Zoom photos of, I mean, it's so beautiful to see so many powerful women coming together that are excited to learn, excited to grow, excited to lead the world and share your influence places. And it's inspiring just to see, you know, just to see this group and how powerful it is. And I feel honored to be a part of it. And I hope, you know, I don't know all of you individually yet, but I am certainly excited for the impact that you'll have this summer. And I can't think of a better place to be, especially in the Vector world right now, as leading in the world as women, and just so much fun to see. I wish we would have had this group 18 years ago when I started, but it's fantastic that we have it now. So thanks for Angie and Shelby for putting this together, and for all of you for being a part of something so special that I can only imagine for years to come how influential this is going to be. So Angie, to answer your question in what made me decide to take the route as DM when I was graduating, I always kind of knew I was interested in business. I was interested potentially in CEO, leading a business somewhere, opening a business somewhere. I kind of come from a family background of entrepreneurs. So, you know, my grandfather owned a business and my uncles owned businesses. And so I kind of maybe had some of that spirit already in there. And I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, but I was a double major in college for my undergrad, and finance and marketing was my double. And I wasn't exactly sure. And certainly like many of you guys, when I started here, it wasn't my forever plan. It was just one summer and I was like, oh, that was fun. And then I'd do it again. And I'm like, all right, that's it. And then I'd have fun and do it again. And then I was graduating, and I really had planned to kind of go in something in more the financial field, wealth management, investment banking, maybe something along those lines. I was graduating in 2006, was also right at the beginning of, you know, what ended up being a huge downturn in the financial world. And it wasn't a great time to interview for those sorts of positions. There was a lot of uncertainty in the financial world. And I also really found this special place that, you know, some things I knew why I loved it. And some places it just kept pulling at my heartstrings of wanting to be here, even if it was hard to explain or I couldn't exactly put my finger on. It was this pull to be here. It was, you know, it was so many things. It's Cutco in so many ways aligns with my personal values and what I believe to be true. And things like the honesty and integrity of the product, the quest for excellence. I very much enjoy the learning and growing process, and Cutco and Vector marketing as a whole is so big on that, you know, groups like this and workshops and all those sort of things. The family feel, you know, even just meeting the Stitt family and meeting Aldi Leonardo and his family and meeting Bruce Goodman and his family and seeing how they were leading both in the business and outside of the business was so inspiring to me. Like, I didn't come from this like beautifully perfect family. maybe, you know, some of you guys can relate to the Al Leonardo and Bruce Goodman's, like, you know, they like have this perfect Christmas card, and that was not my world. And my family was messy and it was ugly, and it ain't no Christmas card that you want to send out to people. And, but I remember thinking, wow, these are great examples that I could follow. And I like their life in and outside of the business, and maybe there's something here. But I think the biggest reason, Angie, that like put me over the edge of like writing a letter of commitment and being all in for giving district a shot was less about all the inspiring things and the pull at my heartstrings. And I think it was more about, I didn't want to have the feeling of regret for not trying it. And I was almost too curious to not like go for it and see what it was like, because I still had that feeling of, well, what if it's awesome? Like, what if this builds this life that's so incredible? What if I could be pretty good at it and it works out? I would always wonder, if I didn't do it, I think I was always going to wonder, how good could that have been, right? Or how would I have done as a district manager? And so in my mind, it was more about doing it because I didn't want to move on, do something else, and look back the rest of my life and kind of wonder. And the worst case scenario is that I did it for a summer, or I did it for a few months, or I did it for a year, and it wasn't my forever fit. I felt like no matter what, I was going to be more competitive, more marketable, better equipped for whatever the next stage was. So it was a conversation with my stepdad that really took a lot of pressure off. He's like, you don't have to make a forever decision. This is just your first career move out of college. And it did end up being my forever move, but taking that pressure off, right? I certainly didn't know that at the time as a 22-year-old. Is, hey, just make the first move. And if there's that pull and there's that curiosity and there's a potential fear of regret, and all it could do is put you in a better spot, like, why not? Why not at least give it a shot and feel that? And I'm so grateful that I did, even regardless of some of the fears that I had, right? That I'm sure a lot of us have, like, you know, fears of inadequacy, right? Am I good enough? Was it my manager that was really good? And I'm just okay. You know, I got some of those questions that I know I had when I was there. But so of all the like glowing, amazing things, I think it was really the biggest pull was I didn't want to have that feeling of regret and wonder, how good could it have been?
Cool. So I know that you've shared a little bit about your path, and it wasn't this like direct arrow upwards when you opened and everything aligned and it was amazing. But when you look back as a DM, are there experiences or what you would look at as called growth moments that in the moment you didn't see it as like, oh, this is shaping me, but when you look back, you go, oh, this is what an example of, or those are examples of moments that I know shaped me for who I am now as a DVM?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think one that I was just thinking about recently, I mean, there's so many, it's so hard to pick, because I think so much of that DM experience is just, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, there's so many aspects, but I think one that I really appreciate recently, and this might sound funny, but like if I could go back and tell my 22-year-old self who was just going out as a new DM right after graduation in May, you know, I decided that I wanted to work 7 days a week when I was a new district manager, not because I had to, and not because my DVM told me I needed to, but because in my mind, I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my heart and soul into this for my first 18 months and build such a solid foundation that I never, ever have to go back to ground zero again, right? Like I'm going to do it while I'm able, while I have the energy, while I have the time, while I'm fresh and excited, while it's new, and I'm going to build it right the first time. And I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this so that I'm never back at this place again, right? I'm never starting from zero again. And I remember, you know, mentors telling me like, for whatever reason, 18 months was kind of the thing I remember hearing, right? Like, hey, do it for 18 consistently, right? Don't do 2 weeks of being engaged and then a week where you check out, or one campaign, you're really into it. And then, you know, you check out for a little bit, because every time you're doing that, you're kind of restarting, right? So instead, can you stay nice and consistent, and can you really build it and build it the right way the first time, so you're not going all the way back there. And I had those moments when I was working 7 days a week and I was 22 and I was right out of school. And it meant that sometimes I had to say to people, hey, I'm not going to go this time, or pass on certain trips or certain things, right? And, you know, like I like to do the social stuff and the fun stuff. Like when I was in college, I went out 6 days a week my entire senior year, right? Like I would skip one day as like my rest day. And so I took a lot of pride in like this social life and having fun and doing all these things. And so in the moment, sometimes I would feel a little bit sorry for myself. I don't know if that's the right word, but I would feel a little sorry for myself, because I'm like, oh, like you're missing this. And even though it was a choice that I consciously made. And if I could go back and tell my 22-year-old self, my 23-year-old self as a new DM, I would say, Kate, it is going to be worth it. It is all worth it. Those small sacrifices now, those little trips that you miss now, those little nights of putting in that extra effort now when you're 22, 23, 24, 25, like, and you got energy and you don't have the responsibilities yet of marriage and children and all those sort of things, it's so worth it. And you are going to thank yourself when you're 37 years old. You are going to thank yourself so much that you built that foundation and you did it, and you did it the right way. And so don't feel sorry that you're missing out on this one, because there are going to be trips that are way more incredible than this one. There are going to be nights that are so much more fantastic than this one. And this is short term for a really long-term benefit that's going to be so incredible. And so that, Angie, for me, is probably one of the things I'm most grateful for, because it built so many things, right? Delayed gratification. It built this idea of work ethic, right? Like anything that comes out now, I'm like, I can work hard for blank amount of months, right? I can work hard, right? I cannot sleep with young children, right? Like I can do that, right? I've done this before. I worked hard with this before. So it just builds so much confidence in other things, and that discipline, that work. So much of that, I felt like I was able to have some space to develop for myself as a young woman, as a young professional in those early stages, that everything else was kind of created on. So I know that sounds silly, like, oh, working 7 days a week is something I'm really grateful for when I started. But from that, there were so many lessons that I feel like are still helping to support now.
Yeah. And I'm sure even if you just think about the perspective, like when you're talking, I remember when I went down to 6 days a week. And then I remember when I had 2 days off in a week. I actually remember that feeling of going, wow, this is like I still, that, because that perspective, and now there's, and not to say, like you're talking about, it's not a forever thing, but when you go there and know you can go there, it sure does give you a different perspective for what that all means, in relation to what you're doing now, yeah. I know that one of the, as you are pursuing your career as a DM and you're building your district, was it always for you, oh, I could see myself as a DVM? Or was there seeds planted, Jeff, somebody planting those seeds? And then at the same time, was there any light bulb moments that kind of happened for you that you were like, oh, I could see DVM? Because I think there's sometimes an assumption that when people do well as a district manager, they automatically see themselves as a division manager. But that's not always the case. And it is a whole other step, and it's a leap. But everybody has a different kind of path where they're going as a DM, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And I'm just curious when did you decide and go, oh yeah, I want to do that. That's something I want to pursue, you know?
Well, I definitely think when I was PSM for Jeff Gamboa, my original thought then as the PSM was like, dude, I could definitely do what he's doing. Like, what does he do all day anyway? Like, does he just like, I just envisioned in my mind that he was just straight chilling all day long, like just like, I don't know, like eating bonbons, like watching sports somewhere. Like, I don't know, because he just looked like he was always having so much fun. He always looked like so fresh. He was always in like good shape and I didn't always see him in the pilot when I was running the pilot. And so when I didn't see my DVM, I kind of just assumed he wasn't working, right? And so I think like my early stages, Angie, I'm like, dude, I could totally do what that guy's doing. Like, absolutely, like make him bank, and he doesn't have to he's not running interviews. He's not like, right. So the immature Kate that like just didn't know the reality of things, 100%, I thought, yeah, I could totally do that. Like, that's a sweet setup. Then as I progressed even into like DM, and I'm like, oh wow, he does a lot. There's a lot of stuff he does here in planning and preparation and managing lots of people and doing lots of stuff. So I think as I kind of went into DM farther, like I always knew it would be something I'd want to be considered for, but the reality of what it all looks like kind of came more into play as I matured as a district manager a little bit. But I really like this philosophy. I don't know who shared it, whether it was Gamboa or Amar DeVay or Al DiLeonardo or who shared it, but the concept that I always want to be on the list, meaning I always want to do well enough or carry myself in a way, be respected, have the performance that I always want to be considered. I always want my name to be at the top of the list. Whether or not it ends up being a good fit, ideally is I would want to be in the position to say yes or no, right? To accept the position or accept the offer or to stay with what I'm doing. So I think you're ready for a DVM promotion when my overall feeling when I did get offered the spot was I love being a district manager so much. I don't know that I'd ever want to be a DVM. And I feel like right when you start feeling that feeling of, man, this is so good. Like I've got so much, like, I've just got so much nice lifestyle and income. And I love the people in my district team. And we've got so much amazing development. And wow, I'm just having so much fun. And I feel like my skill levels finally progressed a little bit. I feel like that's when you get the offer.
Right. And then that's the tough decision, which is like you're saying though, what a great reflection or awareness. Cause I don't know if I've ever heard someone say that exactly, but that is definitely a sign that that next challenge awaits and that you are ready because of, so many DVMs I see that just truly love the business, right? They love what they do. It just kind of passes so much through to people that they lead, and they're not taking that next step because they can do less. It's because they have more influence and the ability to grow even bigger what they're doing, right? So now I remember when you did the podcast with Dan, one of the things you reflected on is you said the importance and power in getting comfortable with who I am as a person and really loving who I am. And I wanted to ask, was that a process for you that you uncovered on your own? Did you get coaching as a DM? Did you, what process helped you work through that? Because that could come up for some people as a limiting belief. It could come, there's things that we work through, but I was just looking at my notes from that and I'm interested in how you work through that to get to that space.
Yeah. Well, I'm still a work in progress for sure on, as I think most of us are, right, on just loving myself, who I am, and I'm still doing that. So even after our second daughter that I just had, you know, making that space for myself to get the exercise I usually do, right? And balancing that into the schedule and feeling good and feeling comfortable in my own skin again, and all of those things, right, that happen. So Angie, I'd first say it's definitely still a process and something I'm still working on for sure. When I was a district manager, I didn't get like paid outside coaching through programs, like some of the ones that are available now. I definitely did utilize within the company, you know, and my philosophy was, when I was a new district manager, I'm like, man, there's so much already here, right? In people that are willing to have a conversation, people that are willing to help and mentor or be an accountability person with me. And I really want to soak as much of that in as possible first, because I didn't want to skip that step, right? And everyone's process is different, but I mean, between Trent Booth and so many of the leadership programs that he provides and within his department are provided, and you know, groups like this where I could work on some of those things and take some of the exercises I was learning at conferences and try to work on some of those, and you know, partnering up with other people, you know, other pillar district managers and you know, kind of think tank groups, and working and sharing together was kind of one of the first places. And obviously a lot of those ideas would come out on stuff. And then it wasn't until I was a DVM that I started doing outside coaching, especially when I was going through like life transitions of, I had made that transition to DVM and I just didn't get it right away. Like it just didn't connect for me right away. And then I had a lot of personal challenges, like kind of coupled with that, parents passing, and I was getting married. And it was just kind of like a one of those key inflection life points where I felt like I needed a little help navigating through it. So it really wasn't until I was almost maybe 29 or even almost 30 before I got like outside coaching. But lots of stuff I've always like, you know, we learned about journaling at Vector conferences and started implementing things like that. You know, we started talking about, and I remember learning about morning routines and started implementing some of those things that, you know, even those are little things. So much I think of the journey for me was more about the consistency, the daily routines, the daily morning routines, the daily affirmations, the discipline and health and eating, and, you know, just so many of those things of just the daily thinking about my circle of influence that kind of played more into that self-development than one like moment that kind of like shifted everything for me.
Yeah. And I mean, when you said that think tank, you know, from not being in the same region, but knowing many people that you have come up in the business with, I've always noticed that you have that group of people you connect with. And as you grew, continue to upgrade that circle of think tank of, you know, who are your peers and colleagues that you're utilizing to help elevate, you know, yourself and others, which I think that sometimes people might think, oh, you know, who am I to reach out to somebody and ask? But everybody's almost thinking that. And when we just start that conversation, it elevates everybody when you can get that group of people. Now, you mentioned that about morning routines, and that was actually one of my questions. Wasn't exactly morning routine specific, but I know you've talked about that and you shared that a bit on the podcast. And so I'm curious for you, when you think about, aside from the 7 days a week, when you were a newer DM, you moved through getting success as a district manager and as a DVM, what would you say, you know, what are those habits and routines that you developed as a DM, and how have they changed possibly, you know, as a DVM? What do you think are those pillar things that set you up for success that, you know, maybe some people call them non-negotiables and some people just say, hey, I know when I do these things are better.
Right. I definitely think mine shift and evolve over time.
Yep.
For sure. So if I was to think about like ones that are pretty consistent regardless, right, of like the single like bachelorette Kate, newer DM to like evolving into the eventual like married straight mom status right now. I mean, I think the ones that are consistent for me that are important are things like regular exercise. Like, I just know I'm better when I'm moving. I know I'm better when whatever it is, you know, whatever I'm into, whether it's classes or not classes or doing, but I know I'm better. I know I have better energy. I know I sleep better. I know I feel better. I know I'm able to just be better for people, and feel better for myself. When I'm paying attention to what I'm eating and, you know, thinking about what's going in my body and my water intake, it changes my energy. It changes the way my brain works. And another one that's consistent for me, like regardless over the years, would be practicing gratitude daily. And, you know, I even practice this with my girls. I've got an almost 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old now. And, you know, on the way to school every day, I give them the same speech every single day on the way to school. And one of the parts of that is we talk about, what are we grateful for today? And it's cool to see, like, you know, at first I would say this and like, I just had like a little baby, you know, one little baby in the back, and she's just like, you know, clearly not listening to what I'm talking about, or looking like she's not understanding. And then it's amazing how quickly they like grasp on, you know? And now she even says on the ride to school, she's like, Daddy, what are you grateful for today? And I'm like, yes, I love this question, right? Like, you're not even 3 and you're talking about this. And I think just practicing that daily, you know, we learn in Vector of just setting our intentions. And sometimes I catch myself even now where I start getting focused on the negatives or what I'm worried about or what hasn't happened yet or what hasn't come together or what's not going well or the people I'm leading that I can't get to like break through yet. And catching myself and taking time every day to focus on, hey, here's what I'd love to see today. Here's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see for myself. You know, love is it, and theme, as Angie taught me this, is like, love is the most powerful word, right? It's the most powerful thing. So when we connect to that and we say, hey, here's what I would love to see for this summer for me. This is what I would love to see for my team. Here's what I'd love to see, right? And when I start shifting out of like worrying about what's not or what's going wrong, and we've all heard this, right? Where our focus goes, our energy flows, and I still catch myself doing it, right? Or I get caught up in focusing on what I'm trying to fix instead of focusing on what I do want to see happen, right? And spending time envisioning that. Even it's while I'm like blow drying my hair, right? I'm like, okay, what would I love to see today, right? What would I love to see for my kids today? What would I love to see for me? What would I love to see for our family today? And taking those few minutes to play it through in my mind ahead of time and setting like just being clear on my intentions of what I do want to happen instead of putting my energy into what I don't want to happen. So those are some that are consistent, just, you know, new DM, DVM, you know, different spots in life that I just think are so important. And they can be done while you're driving to school. They can be done while you're in the car. They can be done while you're drying your hair. They can be done while you're working out in the morning. Like, I don't always sit down with my journal. While that's my favorite, right? I don't always sit down every single morning, you know, with my journal. Some of the gratitude things as a mom, it's like I go from a 5 a.m. workout to a shower to get, you know, and some of it is, hey, how can I make it work right now? So when I had the time and like pre-kids, it was right, sit down and with my breakfast, I'd get to do my journal. And, you know, now it's, hey, how can I still do it even if it's not perfect? Even if it's not this perfect miracle morning, right? And like all laid out, like how do I still make sure it has exercise, eating well, practicing gratitude, and has envisioning what I would love for the people around me, what I would love for myself, what I would love to see, and spending time there.
I love how you use the word love, because it'd be easy to say, what would I like to see? What would be fun to see? What would be good? And those are all good words, but there is a different power when you say like that. It's just, it feels, the energy's different. That's a really great point. So as we transition and you've made this next phase of your life over the last few years in building a family, why, you know, you mentioned this a little bit when you were thinking about why do I want to be here? And you talked about family and what you saw in Vector. You know, on this journey to deciding, not just to, I guess this is a double-sided question. So the first question is that journey that you went on where you decided, I want to be a mom and I want to be in business. So I want to have a career and I want to be a mom. What made you, was that like always in the thought back of your head? You're like, yeah, I want to do both. And then what made you decide and go, oh yeah, this is the place? Like, I know you and I have chatted a lot about how this is the place to do this, but what, you know, what makes Vector, or what we have in your perspective and in your experience, one of the very best places to do this, to raise a family and a business?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that one. And I know we have talked, both feel passionately about that. So I was always kind of frustrated as a younger DM in the business. I'm like, why are there not so many amazing moms, like as DMs and DVMs in this business? Like, why not? And I still don't know the answer. We're definitely getting there for sure, and making some, I've got my theories, you know, but I always thought, even as a DM, I'm like, this is such an incredible place to be, you know, whatever it is you want to be, right? Whether it's to be single, powerhouse, take it to the top, like build this amazing life, whether it's you want to be eventually married and or eventually want to have children, like whatever the scenario, I'm like, man, this is the spot, right? And specifically for me, I think I always, you know, I think for my case, I always assumed or envisioned myself being married and always wanting to have kids. I know that's not everyone's vision, but I think I really felt so convicted in that. And I remember early on saying, like, I am going to do this. Like, I want to do this, not only for me, but I want other people to see how freaking awesome this is to be a working mom executive and to do it here. And so I think for me, there's a couple big reasons. One is because of the family environment that I mentioned before of our corporation. Is I think it's such a fantastic place to build your family alongside of a company that's rooted in those family. It's so much easier to run your life when your workplace aligns with your personal values, aligns, right? And so the leadership truly feels that way. Like, for example, I had a CAP session with my region manager just a week ago, Mr. Earl Kelly. And, you know, this is going to be my 19th summer with Vector, like Angie mentioned, and I'll celebrate my 19-year anniversary in June, which seems crazy. I'm 37 years old, right? And I've worked somewhere almost 20 years, like sounds so nuts. But the first thing Earl Kelly said during my CAP session, he said, before we start talking about your summer plan, I just want you to know that I 100% support you in continuing to lead with putting your family first and having your family as your number one priority and building a business that supports that. Region manager, right? The start of planning the summer wasn't about, hey, I need you to sell more. Hey, I need you to step up as a leader. Is, hey, I really love how you've been putting your family first and making that your priority. And I want you to know I fully support you in continuing to make that your priority and building a business that fits that. I mean, can you imagine I feel like where else do you find that? It's so special. I can't, it gives me the chills just talking about it. It's so amazing. I can't tell you how many times I've had to say of, like, you know, being pregnant or giving birth or having young kids, especially during a pandemic, how many times I've had to say, you know what, hey, I'm going to have to shift this, or I'm going to have to move this. And I know this won't be my life forever, but especially when they're so little and they need more of you as a mom, this is such an awesome place to do it because you have so much autonomy. I love with the DM role, DVM role, CSP role, whatever it is, we have full control of what that looks like. You can design a work day. And I always envision that. I'm like, I can drive my kids to school. I can pick my kids up from school. I can be at all the events that matter. Right. And so many of the important things. And of course, there's always like a couple things and, whatever, that's every human being in general. Right. But I thought, wow, I can't imagine another place where I get to be the executive. I get to be the CEO. I get to design my district, my division, where it can be whatever I want. The organizational chart it's limitless, right? There's no box I have to work within of the way it looks, the roles that I design, the way I set it up. When I was a really new manager, I was like, well, how am I going to have a family and run training, till 7:00 during the non-summer? Or how am I going to run a team meeting at night? And these were things I would think about. And eventually, as I kept evolving, there would just be answers, right? Like answers I never thought of, right? We would always run a big dance training seminar on December 26th. And I remember thinking, well, what about when I have little kids? What if I don't want to run training on December 26th? Like, what if I don't want to do that right after Christmas? And guess what? You don't. There's just so many answers, right? There's someone else who's really excited about running it. Or there's a group of people who are really excited about running it. Or you just don't. Or you run it the day later. There's just like a million options that I think that's one of the beautiful things about our business is that there's so much support and guidance with the freedom and autonomy to make it and design it however you need it to be that supports what you're trying to do. I think it's the love of our company. I think it's the leadership of our company, Angie. I think it's the family of our company. I think it's the position in general that has just so much flexibility. And I can't think of a better training to prepare for my most important leadership role, which is being a mom. And I've considered myself a mom a long time because I've had babies on my Cutco team, forever. And I don't know about you guys, but I care so deeply about so many of the people on my team. Like I really do love so many of them as my own daughter and my own son and work my best to help guide them and lead them in that same way. But what better training for the last 18 years, whether it's the Leadership Academy program, AM, PSM, branch, certainly district manager, is the best preparation possible for what I think is really my biggest leadership challenge for sure. Cause yeah, my kids are, they're definitely my biggest leadership challenge, 100%. Yeah. I often think to myself, I'm like, I have read all these leadership books. I've gone to all this training and this is still freaking hard. But I 100% think, Angie, for so many reasons. And even when I talked to, Jim Stitt Jr. and I was like, hey, they want other executive women in our business to, we're looking for it, right? There can't be a better time than right now to emerge as one of the leaders in our organization. And we want, and the company wants more female leadership of, whatever the situation is of leading from the front. So I think there's tons of reasons, Angie. Those are probably a couple of my most prominent ones. Here's what I would also say. I'll be real with you here for a second. Being a working mom is hard. So I don't want to front on any of you and say that like, oh yeah, this is a perfect place to do it. And it makes it so easy. And I think anyone who is a working parent, period. But especially some of the just leadership that comes along with being a mom and some of the extra responsibilities that I think it's hard being a working mom anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I think this place better aligns for so many reasons than my friends and my neighbors and my sisters and my sister-in-laws. And for sure, but I will say it is still a challenge, right? And I definitely still deal with the feelings of guilt, right? Like you have like, oh, cool, my kids love school. And then you also have the guilt of like, oh, but I send my kids to school and so stays home with them all day, right? And you're like, right? I still have those moments of like, if I won the Mega Millions, like, would I quit my job, right? Like, what would I do? Like, I definitely still have those. I definitely still have the moments where I feel guilty that I'm not giving more to my work because my family is my number one priority. And that's where it aligns. And so I definitely would be lying to you if I said, hey, it's all smooth because this is a great fit, you know, and the company's so awesome. And I think the role's so great. I think any of my friends, any of my circle that is a working mom, we've got similar challenges and similar feelings of guilt and balancing it all and time management and making yourself a priority and your marriage a priority and your kids and your friend, you know, all the things. But that's really, it really doesn't matter what working role you have, that's going to be a challenge. And this to me just happens to be one where I'm not on call. I don't have to like do impromptu, unplanned travel. I don't have to work a lot of late nights. I don't have to work week. Like I can really make it what I need it to be to fit that family. And it can change and evolve, which is cool too. Like you're not stuck in it forever. You can keep changing it and moving it for what you need at different times. So I would definitely say that, Angie. And at the same time, I would add in there, I'm a work in progress and I still have some of the same guilt struggles, figuring it out. And it's still an imperfect process for me. Absolutely. And right now I'm dealing with like, someone has a runny nose. Oh, they can't go to school for who knows how long because everyone's going to freak out. Or like, oh, one of the classrooms maybe had a COVID exposure, so it's closed for 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, all right, baby, you want to come on Zoom for a little bit? Like, I can't bring in a nanny right now because no one wants to be around you with your potential maybe COVID exposure, right? I mean, it adds a whole nother element of just, yeah. I didn't plan that and trying to figure it out. So I always thought this was going to be such a fantastic place to be a mom and a wife and a working adult. And it's just more amazing than I could have imagined.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And I, you know, you mentioned I've been a mom already for so many years. And I still remember a moment when I was sharing with my region manager at the time as DVM, when I had to have some tough conversations with candidates and managers. And I was sharing with him the conversation. He goes, "You're going to be a great mom." And I was like, why did you just bring that up? Like, I didn't have kids. I wasn't even married. He's like,
that
no,
creeps people out when people do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was like, he goes, no, this isn't that different. You care about these people, but you need to be tough. And you could take the easy path. You're not taking the easy path. It's better for them in the long run. And I just remember that statement. He's like, this prepares you for being a great parent. And I was like, okay. And I remember reflecting on that. And I was like, oh yeah. Now, whether it's, you know, we've seen a lot of people have a variety of passions in our business, whether it's travel, it's getting involved in lots of business, whatever it is, it's children, it's something they're doing along with their business. The difference here though, when we have kids and we are the individual that actually births the child, we are out of work. We're really not working for a period of time, however we choose that to be. And so how did you set up your office? Like, how'd you set up your pilot to move forward, you know, knowing, okay, I know I'm going to be gone. I know I'm not going to be available, whatever you decided to do. But what were some of the things that you thought, you know, you look back and you go, oh, when I went on, you know, and had my first child, these are some of the things I know we did well leading up to that it could be something people I think can think about no matter what they're trying to do, but there takes some planning and thought and enrollment and, you know, leadership. And yeah. So I'm just wondering what you did maybe differently going into that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because it doesn't just apply to maternity leave. It could be applied to, hey, you're taking a longer trip or you're doing a backpacking across your whatever it is, right? But I think there are a few key things. So one would be just surrounding yourself with fantastic people. And, you know, doing that by sharing your love and your light with people and attracting those amazing people into your organization, and, you know, doing your best to share gratitude with them so that they want to stay for a long time. And so having a few just really fantastic people, Angie, that also happen to have some years of experience, and you know, my 3 core values are honesty or integrity, right? Love and loyalty. Like, those are my 3. So when I was picking, like, hey, who's in my corner for this, right? It's those people that align with those core values. So there were people like a Courtney Swaim, who's 9 years in the business and someone I just love. She's so deeply loyal. She's so willing to take on new challenges and do something that, you know, we haven't done before, and just incredible. And people like a Colin James, a veteran district manager, and a Lydia Frensos leading as a branch manager, and just so many wonderful people around that were saying, hey, we're ready to support. Even on a company level of, hey, reaching out, which is out of my comfort zone, to like ask people for help. And, you know, reaching out to Trent Booth, or reaching out to a John Fiacco on a national level, reaching out, and, you know, Earl Kelly was more than willing to help and step up. So whether it's a region manager or DVM, or, you know, other DVMs, you know, some of my other peers were willing to help out when I asked in advance and started planning things and putting things together. And just like anything, right, is sharing my mission. Hey, I really want to take a full 8+ week maternity leave and not answer a call, not respond to an email, like a true protected maternity leave. You know, one, for me and for my family, but also because I wanted everyone to see that is possible. And you could do that, whether it's 8 weeks or 9 weeks, or Angie was like 6 months or whatever it is. And I mean, whatever it is, you can do it. And what's so cool is, by having so many amazing people and not necessarily knowing all the answers, but saying, hey, listen, I know you can do this, and empowering them to feel comfortable to make mistakes, to navigate, to figure it out. They really stepped into that in such an amazing way. And so having the right people, and then letting them do their thing, you know, and doing the best I could before I went, you know, especially during the pandemic, to set them up, and then to say, hey, listen, I don't have all the answers here, but I know as a team, and I know with the support, I know that you guys can do this. And our team grew $1 million while I was on maternity leave as a division. Our pilot went up, our office went up both times while I was on maternity leave. We had 2 of our best development summers I've ever seen in my entire career while I was on maternity leave. And we just had one of our best years as a division, even though I was out for a summer again, even during a pandemic. And it's created stronger leaders. And it's just been, I mean, it's probably one of the most rewarding things of my career so far is watching this incredible group of people just do it and figure it out with way more grace and so much more brilliant than I would have been with figuring it out. And it was such a great reminder of my leadership that I need to do that more. I've got to incorporate more people into the plan and allow them to be a part of that, and allow them to step forward and do incredible things. So great people is really the main answer. Of course, I did the normal stuff of like trying to do the best at laying out a summer plan ahead of time and all those sort of things. And then the other thing was just investing in myself and some of my key people so that they did have some of the support. So, you know, I did invest in doing some coaching and getting another person to have me, you know, ask questions to help me think differently than the way I've always thought, right? Because I was like, I've always run the summer and I've always run training and I've always run, like, I almost couldn't imagine it doing it another way, right? So having someone to ask me some questions to shift out of doing what I've always done, which all of you guys have done such an amazing job of this past year, right? Is doing things differently than you've ever done. But, imagining it differently and starting to get comfortable with that and being creative with what it would look like was helpful. And then I did invest in some of the people around me of, hey, I knew I wasn't going to be there. So could I invest into getting them some support, whether it was a recruiting coach or a coach or someone for them to talk to or accountability part, but could I team them up so when I was on maternity leave that they still had some support, even if it wasn't me? So those would be my two main things. Amazing people that just, I mean, that really did a fantastic job. And two would be the preparation for me and getting someone to kind of ask me some questions and help me think outside of the box, and supporting some of my crew while I wasn't going to be there.
Right. Yeah. Cause I noticed that's something you had shared before, and you just said it again. You said, you know, I had to learn to ask for help, and for, you know, saying that's not my comfortable place because I've controlled this for so long and this is how we've done it. And that's how I've gotten success. And it sounds like is that you have seen that by giving more responsibility to the people that you know fit the values and are in alignment with what you are in alignment with, you've been able to grow to a place that would otherwise wouldn't have gotten necessarily as quick, possibly, right?
Right.
And it seems stronger because the people have really stepped up and they've been given the space to, right? The permission.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And was there anything you did different between first to second maternity that you were like, oh, I learned this a little different. I'm going to do this now this time. Was there anything that you were like, oh?
Well, all bets were kind of off because, you know, even what I thought I was going to do differently, I didn't really do differently because.
Right. Oh, because COVID.
Things were so crazy, like right when all that was happening in like our summer prep. So I don't even know. It was kind of a blur.
Yeah.
I know I had a couple things that were like, oh yeah, we'll tweak this. And and honestly, I'm not even sure that ended up happening as we went into it.
Yeah. I guess that, that wouldn't be the case. So
we kind of did everything differently, I guess, to do the answer. I don't know.
Right.
Interviewing, training, we did it all differently. Yeah.
Did it all differently. Right. Great. Well, I guess to wrap this up then, you know, when I think about what you've shared so far with everybody, I love how you made a mention of saying, you know, yes, this is a great place and it's hard. And I think that that's important for anybody that's choosing, you know, it's like, you know, you fully owned that and said, yeah, I'm choosing this, you know, I'm choosing to have this career. I'm choosing to have children. I'm choosing to do both. It doesn't mean it's easy, but I'm choosing. And so I'm finding ways to focus on the good. Doesn't mean you don't still struggle with these places where you're pulled and, you know, where do I fit? But also to know that it's a stage. It's a part of your life, and those kids grow up and other things happen, and, you know, and I just, I think I agree with you so much where it's like, you know, how can we have more families and more people? Because I know we've shared the sentiment that, man, I sure hope that somebody's not thinking, you know, well, can I have a career here and be able to be a good parent at the same time and take care of myself? And you've really done such a fantastic job of summarizing that the support is there, right? That the structure is there. It's really, if whatever once you decide what you want, that will come true, right? And it's knowing, you know, what you want. And you've done a great job of sharing that. So is there anything, before I open it up to anyone to ask a question, is there anything else that when you've got, not just today with these women that are here, and women that, and anybody, this will be men and women, will get an opportunity to see the recording. Is there anything else you'd like to share with them in terms of the opportunity we have to, I would say to have, I mean, I know this might sound a bit out there to say, but I kind of think to have it all, like whatever your all is, you know, I mean, I feel like this is such a great place to really have it all.
I 100% agree. And it's, I mean, for so many reasons, you know, and I know it's been shared with us that you really get to see the true colors. You get to see corporations' true colors. You get to see the viability of a product. You get to see the true leadership. not when necessarily everything's perfect, but when things are really challenged. And I think that for this past year, for me, has convicted me even more in the fact that this is the place to be, seeing how our company responded, not just to the pandemic, to so many things this year where they said, hey, listen, this is what we're about, right? We're about equality. We are about inclusion. This matters to us. This is important. When we said, hey, there's uncertainty for our Cutco family, right? Our Vector family, that, hey, we're going to step up and we're going to make decisions for the factory workers, for our district managers, our CSPs, our division managers, our sales rep force, that it's amazing, right? It's so incredible to see. We had a chance to see our leaders, from the top down this year, make decisions that really said, they really mean it, right? And it's not just the words, it's not just from the podium, but it really is who we are. And it convicted me even more that this is the place to build whatever it is that you want to build. There's so many ways to do it, on the personal development side, from all the things we get to work on emotional intelligence and, time management and our own maturity and financial education and exploring and learning more about us and in all the process and habits and everything that goes into that, from a standpoint of building wealth, especially from a young age. And even if you earn a lot and you make silly decisions when you're young, like, it's still okay because you got plenty of time to, which is what I did a little bit. And still a great place to not only just make your family a priority, but to also be earning a living that is in the top of the top, is competing with top doctors and top lawyers and top professions out there, but still being able to have it all, like you're mentioning, Angie, is so powerful. And then professionally, to be able to create whatever you want and to design your masterpiece. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity we have with Vector in general, all of the positions. And I 100% think, and I shared this at the beginning, that there couldn't be a better time to be here. None of us have a crystal ball of what this summer is going to look like. And I'm sure everyone always goes into every summer thinking it's going to be amazing. But I think we really have uncovered some special things with our company in the past year, that this summer has a chance to really be magical and has a chance to really be unprecedented. And I think that the leadership from a group like this, a group of women specifically that are talented, that are capable, that are so hungry to grow and learn and ambitious and loving and all of the stuff, because you wouldn't be on this group if you weren't, has an ability in the next couple of years, I think, to completely transform the way the top of our leadership looks in the company. We saw an increase with representatives, female representatives this past year. And what that means is our top leadership is just a couple of years behind that. And how inspiring that's going to be, how needed that is to just allow balance. And the more examples we see of women creating an incredible life at the top of our leadership pool is going to inspire other young women around the world to do the same. And whether it's here or somewhere else, I hope you keep pursuing that. I hope we stay connected with other amazing women as we navigate the journey, because it is a little unique to us, right? Being a wife is a different role. Being a woman in any role, any industry there's differences. There's differences with being a working mom that, not all dads are dealing. There's just some differences. And so I think it's really cool that there's this space to share some of those thoughts. So I appreciate you having me, Angie, and I'm so excited about what the future holds for us. I really firmly believe that the next few months is going to be really incredible here. And I think that's going to be a springboard to the next few years. And I'm excited to see what that brings.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that as I've heard some comments and some feedback from events that we've run in the past, I just want to make this statement, which I think is really powerful with Kate here, is that Kate and I have both chatted about the fact that one of the reasons maybe even this group took a while to even come into existence is because both Kate and I, coming up in this business, never felt that our gender in any way, shape, or form held us back or had any bearing on our success and our opportunity to build the business we wanted. And at the same point, we just looked at the data and we're like, so we know this, and it's not reflected in these leadership levels. So it does mean that offering an opportunity to connect more women together so that you have the opportunity to see more of those people and connect with more of people that would be in a similar opportunity and position, or something that is in those levels we look at, can only add fuel to an already great opportunity and fire that we have. So if there's, I know that we don't have too much time, but if there's any questions from the group of you that are here that you want to either pop in the chat or you want to unmute yourself and ask Kate about anything that we've chatted so far today, I would totally welcome that. I know that there's been some great comments spread throughout the chat in terms of some of the things Kate said, but would anybody, I'll change my view. Or if it's not a question and it might be just be a comment, is there anything you might want to comment on and go, you know, thanks for sharing that, or this point resonated. So feel free to either, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself for sure. Or is everybody still like, Livy, I'm sure you've got something. No? She's like, I've noticed, you know, you've been in alignment with some of the things that have been shared, but if anybody wants to pop in, maybe it's a question about some parts of the business. I know that Kate would be able to answer that, or maybe it's something about, you know, balancing, but of both. So Carla, you piped in. I like how you said, I'd love to see this happen. I would love to see this happen for my business. The where she said, I'd love how, what I want to see happen for my business today or this summer. Yeah. Great. Speaking into existence, what you want to see. It's great. Awesome.
I loved how your message kind of revolved around, you know, just pouring into your people and, you know, having them pour back into you. I love hearing that from everybody. I feel like that's such a common theme. And we say in our office, it's a gas and it's actually give a shit, but I love hearing it from, you know, all of you guys and, you know, hearing you, Angie, and Kate, just like, you know, is being able to put yourself in those positions of power and like bringing this community together, which I'm so unbelievably grateful for. So
it's great. Thanks for sharing that, Callie. Great.
You made me feel better. I'm a new DM, and you talked about how when you were a DM, they said that you were going to be a great mom. Well, I'm a mom of 5 going into a new DM job, and I'm like, okay, maybe I might be able to do this.
Yes, I love that.
There's not really a maybe there. Yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
You'll eventually get to a place where you'll go, oh, the parenting thing was harder. Oh,
no, 100% harder. Like I saw a Facebook post. So one of my friends asked, like, is running a business easier or being a parent easier? And everyone was like, definitely running a business. 100% running a business is way easier. Like, and that's with like 1 or 2 kids. So 5, like you're gonna, you'll be amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got that time management thing under wraps. I remember before I had kids, I thought I was good at time management. And then I was like, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
And like patience and 100%.
So I have a quick question for you, Kate. It actually kind of stems kind of the opposite direction that we just went, in that I agree. I feel like this is a great place that we have the support where if we want to have a family, we can have those conversations. For other passions though, I'm wondering, did you ever have conversations with your DVM or your region manager, like travel is a big passion of mine, or like experiences, or like conveying that, and taking the time for that versus like having a family as well. I'm just wondering what that conversation would look like.
Yeah. I haven't personally a ton, like taking extended ones, like the length of a maternity leave kind of thing, but certainly regular travel and just time off and fun things and experiences. And, you know, they are similar in terms of planning anything, right? Getting the right people, having a good plan in place, and allowing them to step forward. A lot of the same stuff really aligns with that on said, hey, this is why it matters to me. This is why it's important to me. You know, this is what I'm thinking. And same of just even thinking outside of the box, Lindsay, is another one, right? Hey, what could this look like? What would it look like? What if I didn't do it just the way I've seen it done before, right? But what if I really wanted to do, and we increase, and it's the most amazing week while I'm gone, or 2 weeks while, you know, whatever it is. So the same concepts in my mind really apply to that. But great question.
And you'll find, Lindsay, that the more you share what you want to do, the more people will surround you to support you in doing that. And you know, when you have kids, you don't, once you're pregnant, right? It's like, okay, that's the date, and there's this deadline. And I think sometimes what we do for these other things we want to do in our life is we move them because you can. So we go, oh, I'm not ready yet. Oh, I don't have the money yet. Oh, I don't. But if you just gave yourself, and you talk to your DVM and you're like, I got to do this trip. This is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. And you share that with people, there's going to be people that surround you and go, oh, I would love to see you do that, Lindsay. And I want to step up and lead in your organization to support you to do this. Like, I truly believe that, but stick to that deadline, because then you'll save the money to make sure your business is afloat and it's moving forward, and you'll train people better because you know you're leaving. And, you know, and
then you'll develop more people because other people want that too, right? So as other people see you being able to do those things, they're like, oh, I don't want to do this work 7 days a week forever, but I want to do what she's doing. Like, that's awesome, right? She set it up, she worked, you know, got it built, and now she's got the flexibility to do that. And you will attract and develop and retain more people when you're doing it that way. So speaking of kids, I got some upstairs that I hear running right now.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Fantastic. So thank you, Kate. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. It was so awesome to be here. Great to see some familiar faces, Lynn, Catherine, and some new faces too. So thanks so much for having me, Shelby and Angie. Excited for the power of this group.
Thanks, Kate.
Kate. See you soon.
Bye, guys. Have fun. Have a fantastic start to the summer.
All right. Well, on that note, I know some of you guys are jumping off, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we are not going to have our next call until July. So July 13th. So what we're doing is we're kind of taking a pause as everybody gets into the summer and they build the summer. And then we'll have some communication about that call in July, because we want to, with that one in July, is have our current managers, branches, and districts, but also this future group of women that you see you're developing into your organization, that you see being key players in our organization. We want to invite them to that call as well. So the Facebook group will still be alive and well. We'll keep content in there. We'll put down the date for that next call, and have an amazing start to the summer. Thanks, guys, for your time. And we will see each other before we know it.
Bye, everyone.